It's another week's vlog and wow, it's so grey. Is this August? I mean, it's not been that cold maybe, but it's not great though, is it? It's just been so grey. So I'm just enjoying the dahlias here. At least they're bringing some colour. But even they have so many buds and they're just not really opening because it's not sunny enough, you know? But I thought we'd have a look in the small greenhouse today, in a bit more detail, because we kind of skipped over it in last week's tour. And yeah, I've had a few changes in there. Let's have a look. So first of all, I'm just going to say that I am keeping this door open at all times now. And this pane of glass has been missing all summer. And the lowest we've had is 9.8. But you can see, yes, 46 is a high. But that was a long time ago now. So I don't reset this every day because I'm lazy. Let's do it now. We'll see. But it's not gone much above 18, 19 degrees in here today. Yeah, and these are warm loving plants. But they are growing, but it's not at great pace. So a little greenhouse like this one, this is 6 by 6 foot, is tricky to regulate the temperature in terms of heat, because it heats up extremely quickly if the sun is on it. This is hence why I have the door always open and that piece of window missing. I also have an automatic opener here that does open, but when it quickly can reach 40 to 50 and above degrees in here if you don't have if you forget to open the door during the day, even with the automatic window. So I find it's just safer in the summer when you're at work and stuff to just leave it open. And as long as it doesn't fall below 10 degrees, they should be okay. However, above 15 is preferable. So what I've got in here are the aubergines, melons, chilies and peppers, and 2 luffa plants. I also have some dwarf cherry tomatoes in pots. Well, let's start looking at the aubergines. So I am training aubergines, 2 stems that I've kept. So there would have been 1 growing tip, and then I kept 1 side shoot and trained that up as well. And that just keeps them tidy and gives them the opportunity to produce a lot of fruit. So I remove any other side shoots that come in and I leave all the flowers, obviously. So I've had some fruits from this variety, which is Check Early, which is a deep purple fruit that is about pear size. And I have had fruit of this pinstripe variety. You can see one coming there, which is more like a ball like this. But I'm still waiting on fruit from the Purple Beauty, but they are coming, the first fruit now. And these are much larger type fruit and a larger plant by the looks of it, more vigorous. I have 2 of these and 2 of the Check Early. But as you can see, there is fruit coming, but there's definitely been a gap of several weeks, I think about 2 weeks between fruiting. And I blame that on the cool weather we've had. Basically the fruit just has not set. And not many flowers have been produced either. So aubergines are worm loving and they like a humid environment to grow in. So when I water in here, I water on top of the plant as well, so that I wet the leaves. And mister is probably preferable, but you know, I don't have time, so I just do that. And then maybe I water 3 or 4 times a week in here, because they're a little bit thirstier here. And I think that is about right, though I do not feed the plants. So I am using no dig beds on top of the soil inside my 2 greenhouses. And in a healthy soil that is fed, there will be enough nutrients to utilize from the plant, and you should not need to feed them. However, and I've realized this year, mainly because I've rammed in too many plants. If you put in a lot of plants per square meter, they will struggle. It's sort of the same with when you grow brassicas. It's very tempting to put in your large brassicas like a cauliflower quite close, because the seedlings are so small it's hard to imagine, but then they actually grow into massive plants. And if you want the large heads to harvest, you should give them appropriate sized distances in the beds, and then you don't need to feed them and they'll produce fine. And it's sort of the same thing in here. I have not given them the appropriate distances, so the plants aren't growing as large maybe as they have the potential to. And one way I could have remedied that is to feed them more, or if ever. So I could do that now, and maybe we'll have a nice bit of warm weather at the end of August and September, and I might get a bit more fruit. But I'm pretty happy still. It's a much better result than I had last year when I grew my aubergines in pots, and the results were very meager. So they're much happier and producing full-size fruit growing in the ground in here. So as you can see, I've crammed in a lot of plants here. So these are chili peppers. This is a small one called apricot. It has been this size for months, right? It's just recently started growing. So I'm hopeful maybe I'll get some fruit of this one. This is the Chinese dragon tongue, and it's also tripled in size recently. So we are entering now September, when peak, soon approaching September, when peak harvesting time is for chilies in the UK. And this is lemon drop, and it's also growing like crazy now. So we are getting there. And with the chili peppers. The sweet peppers are not doing that well, and I am not entirely sure why. They're just looking very meager. The padron pepper is looking happy, but again, no fruit, and hasn't had fruit for a while. But now there are more flowers coming, so I'm thinking there will be more coming. But yeah. This is a Nigel's outdoor chili, and also has been suffering. However, what it is that you cannot see here is that there used to be a nasturtium here, right? A dwarf one. So I thought I would put in a nasturtium because, they attract pollinators, and I thought, a dwarf one, it'll be fine. However, a dwarf nasturtium growing inside a greenhouse is just too optimum, so it grew quite wild in the small greenhouse, and it overtook that side of the greenhouse completely. And I was umming and ahhing what to do with it because it was beautiful, and I was, I like nasturtiums. And then one day I walked in, and I noticed it was covered, absolutely covered in cabbage white butterfly larvae. So because the door is always open here, they'd obviously go in and lay their eggs, and they, as well as eating brassicas, they like nasturtiums. And I also saw some black fly on them. So within a matter of days, that massive plant had been decimated because the caterpillars were undercover. There were also no or very few of their predators, like wasps or birds, coming in. They weren't going to come in here as easily as they would have outside. So yeah, it was like perfect storm, and they nibbled through that nasturtium very quickly. So the good news is that now my pepper plants have got a bit more sun. I mean, if we ever get more sun, they got a bit more light anyway. And I guess it was quite thirsty as well, that nasturtium. So there we go. Let's have a look at the melons at the back. So behind the aubergines and the chilies, and between the further chilies, I've got some melons growing. So this is a watermelon, Blacktail Mountain, early watermelon, and it is spreading quite a lot. And I noticed there is fruit here, very small. And there are other fruit along here, but it's as far as I've ever come. And I've got one, this is a collective farm woman, and it's, it's not doing that well. I don't know if it's because it's growing in this corner and it's not happy there. But the other melons are doing better, though the only fruit that I can see, proper, actually developing fruit, is this one. And I mean, this is as big a melon as I've ever grown, so I'm pretty happy with that. This is a Mir, which is an F1 variety. Stay there. And yeah, I'm trying to keep up with the watering so it doesn't drop that fruit. So it's gone all the way up to the ceiling. And obviously it's cold air coming in there, so I don't know if that is a great place for it. But if it grows any more, I'm gonna train it along here. We'll see how far it goes. But yes, I have Rich Sweetness Pocket Melon, which is a funky colored one, and I'm hoping one of these female flowers will actually set and we'll get some fruit of that one. And there's a same one in there. And then this will be a honeydew melon, still also waiting for female fruit there. So, you know, things are growing well in here, if maybe a little bit slower than I would have wanted to. I mean, we're getting a sweet pepper, right? But I mean, it's a tiny plant and this fruit is not normal, and that's probably due to weather, I'd say. The way it's shaped is adverse weather. Too cold. I guess I was a bit greedy this year and forced them all to grow inside here all at once. I might have better luck with melons if I actually give them the appropriate 1 meter spacing or whatever it says that they need, and not cram in however many do I have, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 melon plants in this tiny greenhouse along with all the other plants, you know. But I am very, very keen on getting into the harvesting of some of these more unusual chilies, because I discovered a new favorite. One of the ones I have started cropping is just incredibly, incredibly tasty. So it's just here. It's a tiny little plant, and I got this in a seedling swap. You can see all the fruit here. So this is called a Bequino, and it is a pepper from Brazil, and it just has a little pointy fruit like this. They will ripen to red, and I've just eaten them all. It's a very, very mild flavor. It's only like 500 to 1,000 on the Scoville scale. And I'll insert some footage of the ripe ones. But basically they are a habanero type, which has a distinctive smoky fruit flavor, and my goodness, they are tasty. I just snack on them in the greenhouse, and they're incredibly flavorful. And I have quite a few of these you know, sweet and fruity and not too spicy ones coming. This is apple crisp here, and I'm excited to try, for example, and we'll see if we get there. And behind here is tequila sweet pepper. Still a little bit disappointed with the sizing of these, but again, so they're starting to change color. They'll go from this purple all through the colors of a sunset, I believe, and end up being red in the end. So it'll be exciting to watch. And I got another sweet pepper here, which is called Lipstick. And I have one ripe in the other greenhouse, and yeah, you can see it's going red now. It's a very appropriately named one. So then, if that wasn't enough, the last 2 plants I crammed in here were 2 Luffa plants. And I had sort of given up on them a little bit because nothing was happening. You know, they were barely sort of growing along, and the leaves were quite small as compared to others I see online. You know, they look much more healthy. But I finally actually saw that I was gonna have both male and female flowers. So yeah, I am more optimistic now that I'm actually gonna get some fruit. So I've got one Luffa plant in the corner here, and not much is happening with this one. But then I've got one growing here. You can see the leaves are going progressively larger along here. And I've had a few female flowers along the way that have just not been pollinated because there are no male flowers. But all of a sudden, a male flower spike started growing. And apparently, oh yeah, there's lots of black fly here. Okay, yeah, so I need to be very on these because they just colonize them immediately. Yeah, anyway, so they form these male flower spikes, and they just keep growing, producing more and more male flowers. So I actually had one open so I could pollinate this female flower, and I think it might be pollinated in the way that it is started to face down, but you know, it's still not 100% yet. We'll see. Are these black fly? They're just ants. Yeah. So the ants love loofah plants, and they will just crawl all over them. And there are more female flowers that will come along here, so all is not lost if it turns out that that one isn't pollinated. But at this point in time, am I gonna have a large fruit? Probably not. That's the thing about growing loofah though, they're really tricky. So I feel like I've learned a lot this year. They almost died from the fungus gnat infection, and I kept them under the grow light for too long. They would have been much happier in natural light. It was a tricky time there when I thought that the grow light was better than the light at the window much later than it actually was. I should have swapped over much earlier. It was the same with my tomatoes. They were also struggling to grow under the grow lights if you compare it to natural light. But yeah, let's have a look in the large greenhouse quickly and see what's going on in there. So you all know I had to get rid of my outdoor tomatoes, right? Because of blight. Apart from, actually, we'll have a look at those. Apart from my my cascading tomatoes. They're just growing here. And so far they are okay. And they are setting fruit. And I'm just gonna leave them until I start seeing that they've also got blight. So they have got wind damage and other damage and stuff. They're not 100% healthy. This is Tumbling Tom, and this will be, is this micro cherry? Yeah. So I think Tumbling Tom is doing his thing and going absolutely insane. So I planted these out quite late, and yeah, I'm just happy that they've taken, to be honest. But they are right next to potatoes. So if these get blight, yeah, that might be it. Speaking of potatoes, so your main crop will be ready sometime around like 17 weeks after you planted them. And it depends a little bit on variety you're growing. But I can tell from my main crop that the pink fir apple, which I knew was a later one to mature, those plants still have a lot of dark green foliage on them, indicating that they are still producing energy to put into the tubers. Whilst my other ones, my Sarpomira and my King Edwards, have gone yellow, right? And I have lots of dark spots on them. The leaves are basically dying and they're of no use anymore to the plant. And that indicates that it's time to get them up. They're not going to do any more good for the tubers. They're not going to produce anything more for them. So that's my job. My next job is to get all the potatoes out, apart from the pink fir apple, which I'm going to leave in the ground for a bit longer. There you are. Here we are in the big greenhouse. So, blight, yes. So you all know I had the outdoor ones are already gone due to blight, and I had noticed some signs of blight on the indoor ones, on the greenhouse ones. Basically I had like, I think 5 leaves of different plants had the beginnings of blight, and I'm lucky I caught it then. So I took all those leaves out and got rid of them, and since then I haven't had much. I had one, this was like a week ago, more than a week and a half ago, and I really reduced watering, you know, really concentrated, only water in the morning, always have the window and the door open, and basically create no humidity in there, and that's meant that it hasn't spread. So I noticed one leaf had it today, so it's still there, right? And if I let it get wet in there, it's gonna run rampant, but I can delay the spread and the foothold it will want to gain by keeping the humidity down. So far it's still okay in there. So the jungle is still here. They're still very low on leaves. you know, because that's how I roll, and that's probably why it has not set in so badly in here yet. Obviously, once you get to a point and it attacks the stems and the fruit, it sort of is very much downhill from there. But if you can catch it when it's still just on the leaves, you know, that's fine. So there's some brown spots here, which I don't think are blighty. It's sort of, it might be, so maybe I should take this out. Let's take this out. You know, it has plenty of other leaves, this one, so it doesn't need this one. So I put that there and get rid of it in a bit. But yeah, so we're starting to get a few ripe tomatoes, and because it's a blight year, I pick them and eat them almost as soon as they're ripe. Okay, so this is sun gold. So it's just about celebrating every ripe tomato. And I actually had a few of the lotuses ripe, and they were like translucent yellow, absolutely gorgeous. It's so good to eat. So lotus is a good small beefsteak variety. It's from Ukraine, which means that it matures quickly because they have a short season there. It gets warmer than here in summer, you know, but it's a short season, shorter than here. So that one looks good. So it's a quick mature compared to Black Beauty. Still is rock hard. Yeah, my Black Beauties are, there's no giving those. I'm starting to see some turning on the check breast, but Lucid Gem, again, rock hard. Maybe some change on Sky Comish. But majority of the tomatoes are just really, really hard. This tie-dye, Barclays tie-dye, no change. No change, no change. Obviously, that's the lotus, and I picked 2 of this one. And that's the Galena. The cherries are obviously ripening now. And I had 2 of the blue bio, so they turn red. And I had 2 of those. I'm quite disappointed. If you like the look of these kind of tomatoes, yes, grow them. But I'm thinking maybe Black Beauty is tastier than this, though I haven't tried it yet, so I can't swear to it. The ones I'm surprised about that haven't ripened sooner are the Millefleur, these Centiflora type. So I have had no ripe ones on these yet. Maybe it's just because they just keep on producing and producing and producing, and we kind of need the warm weather. So what I've done, because it's getting so crowded and then we're getting so tall, I have topped mine. The ones that have reached the ceiling, or almost the apex, right? Because there's just no more space. So these have still got the tops on, but I am going to have to take them out soon. But yeah, so Jen's Tangerine, slowly turning color. One cherry that I'm still waiting on is the chocolate cherry. And it's quite large, like quite a large cherry. Which surprised me. I thought it would be a smaller one. And to be honest, I'm sort of, I guess, trained on Tumbling Toms and Sun Gold, which are quite small cherries. But there definitely is a sliding scale on tomato sizes, I'd say. This is it here. They are huge cherries and not a sign of change in color yet. The ones that are changing though, is the Gardener's Sweetheart, which is sort of heart-shaped cherry plums, apparently. We'll see. They're starting to change color, so we'll see what they're like. But I am eagerly awaiting my orange bananas, and nothing yet. So yeah, we'll see. We will see. And then, I think it's Rosella over there, starting to change color as well. And then we're waiting for cucumbers. More cucumbers. There's more cucumbers there. And are you with me? There's a cucumber there as well. So they are coming cucumbers there as well. But again, you know, I harvested a few cucumbers and then nothing for weeks. The weather, man, it's just not great. They just sort of, they were all healthy looking, but just not growing. So it's a little bit sad. But yeah, we're getting there. Just two more cool peppers to show you. So this is the ripe lipstick, and I mean, yeah, that is a great color and a great name. There are more flowers coming now, so maybe we'll get a few more. And then this one, obviously Purple Beauty, and this is the color of it. It's like pitch black. I really need to grow it next to Black Beauty tomato. But it's just gorgeous. So I think it stopped growing now, and I need to harvest it. And then because I want to encourage more flowers, you know, then you need to harvest your fruit. You can't leave it on there. So we'll see. Yes, how cute are these little Greek basils? Little bushes. But again, like the earwigs and the slugs and woodlice, they are having a field day in here. Really, it's just not, it's not great. My poor, a lot of these marigolds are just being eaten before they flower. But yeah, so that's a bit about what's growing in the greenhouses. Woo! Yeah, so it's all a little bit depressing on Instagram these days because of the blight situation. There's just so many people who've lost all of their tomatoes, which is just sad. I'm lucky that I still have some under cover, and that they will probably produce as long as we get some sun. But yeah, at least I get some fruit from each. So I was thinking next week we'll talk about seed saving, because it's quite easy from tomatoes, but maybe not so easy from chilies and pepper plants. So watch out for that one, and I will see you then.